Good morning, everybody. My name is Samantha Mirabal with Mocha's application team doing our Design Shop talk today. If you have questions while we are live, both on Facebook and YouTube, type them in on the chats. Don't send them to me privately. I don't tend to see those until much later. So just type them in. I've got another monitor set up over here so I can keep track of any questions that come in while we are live. So just let me know and I'll try to get to them. I'll start off with some of the questions that were sent in ahead of time and we'll go from there. All right, so how do I make a square box behind a letter? Okay, so let's go do it. So new file, make an S. All right, so I've got myself a letter, center it up, and you want a box behind it. All right, so that's just a matter of digitizing a box. So it depends on whether you want it to be a fill or a line or a border, I don't know. So I'm gonna do a bunch of them so you can see. But I'm going to use this complex fill tool, and right here is a rectangle. So I can draw a box and then drag that up so it's behind my letter. And now I have a box behind my letter. If I want to put a border on that, I can hold Shift and click on that, the single line center button. So Shift and click will automatically put a border on it, right? I can change the width of that border here if I want it thicker. Let's say I don't want the fill, I can delete that. Or maybe instead of the satin stitch, I want a bean stitch. So I can hold the Control key down. Control is change one element from one element to another, Shift adds. So if I hold Control click on the single line, the walk stitch, I can then change it over to a bean, right? So all of that. Now, if I did all this and go, oh, I really want my fill back, I can again hold the Control key and click on that complex fill button, and there we go. I've got a box behind there. Now, if you want that box to be, you know, exactly 2 inches by 2 inches, for instance, I can come down here and type in 2, get rid of this so it doesn't lock the proportions, and say, okay, I want this to be 2. So now that is an actual 2 by 2 box versus whatever I had drawn. If I want to center these things, I can select them both, say center and center. And now my letter is centered within the box. So a few other things, if you are a visual type person, let's say you want to adjust it where it moves, it keeps the centering, but now it's scaling from the center. I'm holding the alternate key down on my keyboard and dragging this around. Right, and that scales it from the center versus if I just grab it without holding alternate down, it pulls it off from one side. So alternate does it this way. I can do alternate here. I can do alternate from the corner and have it be completely dynamic. Okay, so that was how do I make a square behind it. All right, so can you go over how to transfer styles and how to save new style settings under the properties? Yeah, so styles are these things here. You can get like the Burmalana and the Firefighter. Those are ones that you can find the ST3 files on, oh good grief, on the Mocha service site under the FAQ if you search for them for like micro chenille, and they'll be there. So that's what this Burmalana is. If you go to your, let's see if I can find it. See Melco Design Shop, which version am I in? Yeah, this one. And then under styles, nope, under fabric styles, that's where you put them. So any that you have that you're going from, you know, one computer to another, you can paste them into this folder, right, into the fabric style folder, and they will be there. To create your own, so I have one here, ties and underlays, that I made myself. So I went in here, started a new file, right click on here. I went under styles and created one. Yeah, no, I don't want to replace it. Create, let's see, test. So what you can do to create your own is you go create this, and now under here set up all the properties of what you want for that style. So I specifically did set my own underlay properties and my own knot preferences to change this, and to turn on the auto trim to 25 or something like that. And then I like a style 5 knot. So anyway, I changed all these to be my personal preferences. So adding a little bit of pull compensation, having specific underlays and things like that. And I save that as my own type. So you can go create these. When they're created, they save off into that folder that I showed a minute ago. So into this fabric styles. And I then copied it and pasted it into this thing I keep over here, which are just, it's what I call my own library. That way, when I go to other computers, I can just copy my library over and I don't have to go back to the old computer and find it. So I just keep a running library of things that I like, that I use. My color charts, because I've customized some color charts, my styles, all of that. So yeah, that is where you find them and put them. So you create them here, saying create style, you go change all the properties you want. The biggest thing I tend to do is why I have ties and underlay. That adds a point, adds some pull compensation, because I think everything should have a little bit of offset, pull offset. It adds underlay because everything needs underlay of some sort. And then it makes sure the knots, the tie-in and tie-outs are the preferences I like. So that's the one that I created, and I tend to just select things and apply it. And that way, apply that style to the selection I have. Okay. So let's see, was that the question? Yeah. All right. Can I add a picture of my fabric to use when showing a customer mock-up? You kind of can. So yes, you can. Let me show you. So file, open, no, go away. Can I just go back to where I was? Sorry, I want my folder back. There it is. All right, so why I say yes, you can. This is the one I created before here. And I'll show you how I made it. Oh, come on. This monitor. There we go. So that's a picture I put in there and then saved this off as a JPEG. All right, so what it was. So to use this, you have to use the applique tool. So just drawing a vector, vectors are only flat. So if I drew a vector rectangle and I just wanted to color that, put a pattern on that, no. You go into the properties, you can just make it colors. Okay. Now, if it's an applique, right? So if I took this, held my shift key down and made it an applique, now that's an applique. All right. So I can double click on this, and under background type here, I can change it to graphic. From graphic, I can go select the graphic I want. That one. And I can apply it. And now that graphic is the applique fabric, right? So yes, you can. It's done here, changing this to graphic, and then finding the graphic you want, and wherever you have it saved, and it will put that there. Okay. So then when you do file, save as, to save it off for your customer, you change it to a JPEG, fabric image, sure. Or there it is. So you'll see it saves it off with those images on there. Okay. So yeah, the only opportunity you have for that is under this applique tool. So you'd have to draw it as create the shape that you're trying to show as an applique, and then you can have that there. Okay. All right. They should be centered. So it might just be that your HoopTech hoops are slightly off. I know some of those hoops have adjustments on them of how they're assembled. So it just might be that. There's no simple way to adjust the actual hoop, what it considers center on there. You can go into the code and do it, but it's not something I generally recommend. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. You can though, but I wouldn't do it. Sometimes I prefer to match the bobbin thread to the top thread. I use Madeira 40 for my top. What should I use on the bobbin? You can use 40. Typically bobbin threads are 60 weight, so 60 or 70 weight, somewhere in there. So if you were going to try to keep the similar weights of what's normal, you could get a 60 weight Madeira Polyneon. They sell the same colors, mostly all the same colors in a 60 weight thread too. As far as how to wind it, I always just used a Simplicity SideWinder and wound them there. I've got a Juki sewing machine that winds them for me now. So anytime I want it, I just put it on the Juki winder. It's the same thing. So you can, most of the home sewing machines have bobbin winders, and they'll actually take the L bobbins on there. If you're going to use the metal bobbins, I highly recommend using the bobbins or the bobbin cases with the backlash spring. Sorry, I have a backlash spring in this cup of junk. This thing. All right. So these don't typically come in the bobbin cases that we use because our machines don't really need it. But these metal bobbins are they're really heavy. So when the machine does a trim, it'll spin, and because of the weight, the inertia of it, this stops that. So this little spring, if it's in the bottom of the bobbin case, that thing, it will kind of slow it down so you don't get that runaway with the metal bobbins. Now, if you're using the nebs, so nebs are the plastic-sided bobbins. If you save those, you can actually wind directly onto those. That's what I did for a really long time, is I just saved all the plastic-sided bobbins, and when I needed them, I'd wind onto them. If I broke them, so what? I threw them away, and because there's more. So that's kind of my tips with that. There are companies like HoopTech that do make colored bobbins, so if you just want to buy them direct, you can go to HoopTech and buy those. But if you're trying to match exact colors, then you're going to need to wind them yourself. All right. When doing a Milko 2-color font, how do I break it apart in order to move the border to the back? You just break the object. So let's see. Block, 2-color block. All right. So if I want, this one's already doing the background on the border first, and then it's doing the letter. But let's say you wanted to rearrange it. So you'd right click, go to operations, convert object to wireframe, and now you can drag these around and move them wherever you want, right? So you can just drag them back or forward however you want it. So that's what you would do on it. But yeah, this font right here, the 2-color, this particular one is already set up where it's doing the outline first and then the letter on top. But all you do is, once you get it sized and positioned and everything you like, go to operations, convert object to wireframe, and now you can, rearrange it however you want. Okay. Oh, awesome. I'm glad. I hope that helps. All right, let's see, what else do we have? I make these hand puppets. Oh, the one I drew is wrong. Anyway, they're made out of fleece. They're 9x16. They're made in the hoop. You do the cuff later. Cool. You want to basically embroider on the back. So, okay, so essentially how you're making these is you're hooping this, you're putting fleece down, you're embroidering everything, then you're putting the back on, sewing it, you're done. Okay, so it means if you want that piece of fleece that is going on second to have text on it, you're going to have to embroider it first. So I drew a silly hand, but just, let me go open it. So I drew this just as a reference. So let's say this is the front that has your dude on it, right? So I have the wrong shape. So it's going to have some sort of outline on it, right? So it's going to have some sort of outline stitch that places it for you. So what you're going to want to do is take that stitch, copy it, paste it, and mirror it, and put it, and put it over here. Now you can create your text, right? So text, whatever you're going to put on here, you can sew there. So what you would do is save this off as its own file, sew it. Now it's done. When you go to add the back on top of your front, it's already going to be embroidered with text. It'll have kind of a guide of where this where your shape goes, because it's the same shape that you had for the other one. And you're just going to lay it down, pin it on, and finish your tack down stitch that holds it together. Okay, so that's how I do that. But the key to that is to take your shape, mirror it, because that's going to make sure that when it goes face down, because you want face to face, so when you flip it inside out, you have text on one side and you have your design on the other. That's how you would do that. Okay. All right. But it's pretty straightforward to do and pretty simple. All right, so any questions before I call it a day? So we've had a few of these sent in beforehand. So if you got any questions, I'll hang on for a little bit in case someone's frantically typing. But don't forget, if you have questions when we're not live, we have a form, a Google form. Just go type in your questions. It puts it into a spreadsheet where I can go pull them up, and I will see them for the next talk. So that way, if you don't have to remember to be live, or you go, you show up live, but then you forget what question you have. Anytime you have them, just fill them in and you're good to go. So anything else before I call it a day? There are DesignShop talk. So there's a link that they got for you. So if you're looking for past topics, right? We do a lot of these talks. So watching all the videos might become cumbersome if you're looking for something specific, but you can open this up, do a Control F, and search for whatever you're looking for, puff or, applique. And you can see applique was discussed 96 times. So you can kind of scroll through and see of those, do any of those sound like something you're looking for? And if so, then you can go look at that video and the links are here. Okay. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions typed in, so I guess I will go ahead and, yeah, Shift it basically takes a shape and adds it. Control takes whatever it is and changes it to a different element type. I use it all the time. All the time. It's just a workflow. It speeds everything up using those hotkeys. So cool. I'm glad that helps. All right, everyone. I will be back next Thursday. So hope you guys have a fantastic holiday weekend, and I will talk to you next week. If you have questions, please submit them, and we'll try to, or if you have things you want to learn about, just type them in, and we'll try to get them worked in. All right. Until next week, have fun sewing. Bye, everyone.